seat. You're ready? Everybody ready? Yeah, Colonel Ford's here. Yeah. Okay, so please take your seats. I'll get this going. I know everybody's happy to be moving around again, but let's get back in harness here. All right, calling to order the Fort Ord Reuse Authority regular meeting for June 8th, 2018. Pledge of allegiance. If Colonel Brown would lead us in pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, acknowledgements, announcements, and correspondence. Mr. Hulamart.
Yes, Chair. I have a few brief announcements, and then we'll talk about the prescribed burns that are. First, I wanted to make a note. Several of you were unable to attend, but the County of Monterey and the Fire Department did an extraordinary job at doing an open house for the East Garrison Station Number 7. It was a very well-attended event. There was very significant representation from folks here at FORA and others. That East Garrison Station is the first brand new station that's opened up on Fort Ord. It's part of the East Garrison project. It will now be the central place that has to look at response to over 86 miles of trails and 7,200 acre Fort Ord National Monument, along with the other 6,000 or 7,000 acres that we have there. This is particularly noteworthy given what Colonel Brown helped us with last month. The recent Fire Protection Summit was also very well attended. It was all organized by the Presidio Commander, Colonel Brown. Did a fabulous job for all of us, making sure that we're all aware of the importance of having appropriate response times on the base, given the fire safety issues that we have here. Second item, just quickly, our colleagues in Salinas will be hosting the Forbes Ag Tech Summit on June 26th, 28th. That's going to be a big event that's going to be happening on Main Street. And as you know, part of the base reuse plan is respect for our agricultural colleagues immediately to the east and how important that is for our region. I also want to note it's way in advance, but October 20th is an important day. We want you to save the date. That's the 9th annual Heroes Open Golf Tournament. I think Robert Norris was in here earlier. He's part of the group that's putting that on, and Tom Mancini's participating in that as well. Also, the Honor Our Fallen Run is going to be happening at Fort Ord Dune State Park in Marina, and that's going to be opening up that'll be in 2 weeks from now. So next item is important, which is Army prescribed burns. And we have our colleague Bill Collins here today, but it's my understanding that the priority areas for the 2018 burn, which just starts in a few weeks, July 1st, the beginning of the burn season, going to be Unit 31, which is inside the impact area on the former Fort Ord, just east of Seaside, and then Unit A, which is in the northern portion of the Fort Ord National Monument. Those are the two areas that we're focused on this year for clearance. And so folks who get impacted by that will be notified either by text or by email or otherwise, and all of the board members are also getting notices in regard to when the burns occur. Should further note that the Army will be producing some publications in the next week or two. That'll be sent out to everybody. And then, Chair, the next item I'd like to bring up is change of command. Colonel Brown is joining us today, which I don't know. We beg and plead he might come back and visit us in the future, but we think this may be his last meeting officially, and he'd like to introduce his new colleague.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Greg Ford, coming in from 8th U.S. Army, Republic of Korea. So he's been pretty busy for the past year as a Chief of Intelligence Operations for 8th U.S. Army. So he's been on the ground for about a week. I have had the distinct on two occasions to be able to bring him through the former Fort Ord and Ord military community to talk about all the unusual stuff that is in here. There's nothing in our career that prepares us for former Fort Ord. So that takes a few days to communicate that, and it takes a few days for the other person to absorb it. So that's what we've been doing. But he'll assume command at 1 o'clock p.m. on next Tuesday. And then the DLI Commandant, Colonel Phil Deppert, will be relinquishing command to a colonel named Gary Hausman. And that'll be at 4 o'clock on the same day. And all the cities, municipalities, were invited to that. So I hope you can attend or send a rep if you so choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Brown. I think it also should be noted that usually when people depart the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, there's a way of acknowledging them, and I'd like to read into the record a resolution and ask if a member of the board would like to have it be submitted for a vote today. So, Chair, if that's okay?
Yes.
This is a Fort Ord Reuse Authority resolution, and it's by the governing body of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority for the acknowledgement and appreciation of Colonel Lawrence T. Brown. And the reading is as follows. It is hereby resolved by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors that whereas Colonel Brown has served the Presidio of Monterey as garrison commander since June of 2016. Let me make sure I got my stuff working here, right? All right, now I'm cooking. And whereas Colonel Brown has served in the United States Army in both enlisted, student, and command roles since 1983, and in numerous and decorated overseas operations in field and intelligence assignments, and whereas Colonel Brown has been awarded the Expert Infantryman's Badge, Ranger Tab, Master Parachutist Badge, Air Assault Badge, and Pathfinder Badge, among many other recognitions for his achievements prior to his current assignment. And whereas Colonel Brown has served as the Presidio of Monterey representative on the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors, providing thoughtful, analytical, and unceasing contributions to the regional recovery effort. And whereas Colonel Brown actively supported regional efforts to activate the California Central Coast Veterans Cemetery expansion. And whereas as Presidio Commander, Colonel Brown assisted in the processing and transfer of water resources to enable the Veterans Transition Center development in the city of Marina, and for veteran family affordable housing, and in providing shelter for veterans transitioning from homeless. And whereas Colonel Brown demonstrated personal commitment to the veteran community as a member of the FORA Veterans Issues Advisory Committee, and whereas Colonel Brown is known for his laid-back, genteel, polite, refrained, behind-the-scenes, and unassuming but diplomatic and risk-averse Southern California management style, now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fort Ord Reuse Authority Board of Directors that it expresses its appreciation to Colonel Lawrence T. Brown through this resolution for his extraordinary contributions to the reuse of the former Fort Ord to the citizens of Monterey County, and wishing him every success in all his future endeavors.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So, Chair, that...
You have the floor, Colonel.
Thank you, Colonel.
No, it's been a tremendous 2 years. Who would have thunk that an intel officer who came up through the ranks as a private up from Fort Lewis, born in California, would command this thing called Presidio Monterey and parts of the former Fort Ord. So, you know, a lot of us, if you think about your life, sometimes you're the right person at the right place at the right time, and for me, it kind of came together. So some of the things that I've been going through, whether it's the IGSA or the Veteran Cemetery, or whether it is what things are going on, it's just kind of aligned that I felt like I was in the right place to be able to offer a small contribution to what we do with this thing called the former Fort Ord. And I just want to thank you for being an example and teaching me, because military officers do not get lessons in civics. And because we kind of run a military government in the way we run our installations, but basically I got a full of Civics 101, and it was really revealing, and it reinforces the ideals of what this country was founded on. Yes, there's disagreement. Yes, but that's kind of how our country is designed. and it's on full display here. So don't lose heart. Don't lose heart. You're doing the right thing. It's supposed to be. It was designed that way. Our whole system of government, which I'm learning. You know, I heard I read a book the other day. How you remember we were under Articles of Confederation, and it took us 10 years to figure out the Constitution. But the way that Constitution was written, it was written as a compromise document. So the different poles of how the government should be run actually read the document like, oh, this document was written for me. And then the other guy says, oh, this document was written for me. It was actually written for both. And so that's why, you know, we have this give and take and pull and stuff, because that's the way it was designed. So I just ask you as good citizens of California United, don't lose heart with the system. I was at Benicia for the Memorial Day, and I told the population of Benicia who came, I said, don't lose heart with the political turmoil. There's a lot less Americans, and I told them to look at 2 units in U.S. Army's history. One was the Buffalo Soldiers, who never gave up on the country. They always served. They were given a difficult mission. They were stationed at the Presidio of San Francisco. They were the forest ranger for the Park Service enforcing law out at Yosemite when people didn't want to follow them. So they had to come up with creative ways to enforce the law. They didn't quit. They kept at it, knowing that one day they would realize the freedoms, and they had to operate under oppressive Jim Crow laws. Another unit was the 442nd, which was the Japanese Americans, go for broke, right? So in California, we took all their property, we stuck their families in internment camps, and then we sent them to war and said, fight for this country. And they did. No less than 21 Medal of Honors, the most decorated unit in U.S. history. Daniel Inouye, senator from Hawaii, and then they lost 500 guys rescuing an American unit of 200 that was cut off in German unit. They never lost hope in the country, knowing one day, right, we would be a more perfect union, and they would fully realize what they did as America. So with all the political turmoil, whether here locally or nationally, don't lose hope in service to your country, to your state, to your local community. You guys are doing the right thing. Thank you. Colonel Ford will take it over for the rest of the meeting.
Okay. Well, I think we just got a lesson in the United States Constitution. Thank you very much, Colonel Brown. It's always good to remember why we're here.
Through the chair, before Colonel Brown leaves. Colonel Brown, can I say a word? I just wanted to thank the Colonel for the repatriation of the burials of the indigenous people on the Presidio that you were a part of. So on behalf of my people, Chumash Nation, thank you, and as well as the Esselen Nation. So thank you very much.
Okay, so moving the agenda on, we'll move on to closed session. Would you read us into closed session, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the board and public. Closed session today, item 4A, conference with legal counsel, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Marina Community Partners LLC versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority, Monterey County Superior Court case number 18CV000871, pending litigation. And 4B, conference with legal counsel, Government Code Section 54956.9A D1, Keep Fort Ord Wild versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority, also pending litigation.
have Authority Council read us out.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board and public. The board met in closed session on items 4A, Conference with Legal Counsel, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Marina Community Partners versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority. The board heard from counsel on the status of the matter, and there's nothing to report out on 4A. And same with 4B, Conference with Legal Counsel, Government Code Section 54956.9A, D1, Keep Fort Ord Wild versus Fort Ord Reuse Authority. Also heard from counsel on to the status of the matter, and nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a roll call. We'll have a roll call, please.
Supervisor Parker, Supervisor Phillips, Supervisor Adams, Mayor Edelin, Councilmember O'Connell, Councilmember Hoffa, Mayor Rubio,
Here.
Councilmember Alexander, Mayor Carbone, Mayor Gunter,
Here.
Councilmember Garfield, here, Mayor Dallas, Kathleen Lee, Nicole Hollingsworth, Erica Parker, Debbie Hell, Steve Matarazzo, Andre Lewis, Colonel Ford, Bill Collins, Dr. Tribely, Lisa Reinheimer, and Dr. Moore. Here. Jen Reiner. Oh, sorry, Jen Schreiner. Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, now that we have a quorum, we can move on to the consent agenda, which consists of approved May 11, 2018 meeting minutes, Administrative Committee, Veterans Issues Advisory, Legislative Committee, Economic Development Report, and Public Correspondence to the Board. Is there any item that anyone on dais would like to pull for further consideration? There's been a request to pull item 7E. Okay, is there anybody in the public that would like to pull anything for further consideration? Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Bringing it back, I'll entertain a motion. There's a motion to approve consent agenda minus 7E. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, we have unanimous. 7E.
Yes, Chair, members of the board, just a quick note. Several folks in the public and other members here on the board have asked about the 2018 jobs survey report. It does show an increase in jobs over the last year, and if you note in your board report, if you go to the ordforward.org website, you can get all of the information there. So I just wanted to make sure all knew that, as I've received like 6 questions this week. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for staff on that item? Anything from the public? Entertain a motion. Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is business items. Consider adoption of the FORA fiscal year 2018-19 annual budget. This is a second vote.
Yes, Chair, the staff recommends that the board take the second vote.
Any questions? There's a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Two negatives. Two noes. Two not ayes. Okay, the next item is the fiscal year 2018-19 Capital Improvement Program, second vote. Mr.
If
Lamar.
staff has nothing to add, staff requests taking the second vote.
Any discussion? Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Opposed? It's roll call vote.
Director Rubio,
Yes.
Director Parker, Director Adams, Director O'Connell, Director Hoffa, Director Alexander, Director Gunter, Director Dallas, Director Edelin, Director Morton, Director Carbone, Director Garfield.
Yes.
It's 8 to 5, the ayes have it.
Motion passes.
7 to 5.
7 to 5. 7 to 5.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the Marina Coast Water District budget, second vote. Mr. Hulamard.
Staff recommends the board take a second vote.
All right. Is there a motion? The motion and a second. Is there any public comment? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Roll call vote?
Director Rubio,
Yes.
Director Parker, Director Adams, Director O'Connell, Director Hoffa, Director Alexander, Director Gunter, Director Dallas, Director Edelin, Director Morton, Director Carbone, Director Garfield.
Yes.
You have 3 noes, the ayes have it.
8 to 4. Okay. Very good. So the next item is public comment period for general comments. People wishing to comment on things that are not on the agenda for up to 3 minutes.
Levon Stone, Executive Director of the Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network. I'm not sure what's on the agenda or what's not on the agenda. I'm not part of the inner circle. I'm here as the representative of our local community, and I really came today to see what had changed. I see nothing has changed. The circle is still the inner circle. And are there any more community organizations, community non-profit organizations in this room today? Don't be scared. And like the Colonel said, we're still continuing to work for our local community. All of our dreams and aspirations are not taken seriously. I saw a sign that said there's 42 acres on Fort Ord for sale. I was told that it's going to be a bidding situation. 49. And that the bids would be for the whole 49 acres. We were told over and over again for years, there's nothing else that you can do. There's no more space. It's all been divvied up and given out. So we've just been walked over all this time. And I don't see where what our needs are being looked at in this process. Like I said before, the Fort Ord reuse plan has been chopped up, chewed up for hikers and bikers and everybody else that wants to come into our community and take whatever they want. We're not agreeing with any of it. I know you don't care, but I do. I really feel that if we're looking at our local community, we got $500,000 houses and everything else built on this Army base. There is nothing for the people who have been left homeless, that are working day by day trying to pay their rent, trying to pay the escalating rents, the escalating utility prices, and everything escalating in our community. There is no indication that anything has changed. We go to the food bank every Tuesday. Pastor Stone and myself, we deliver food to the people, women and children living in temporary housing, veterans, all of them. We're doing the hard work on the ground while everybody else is agreeing on a situation that is horrible. You know what? But like the Colonel said, we're not giving up.
Thank you, Ms. Stone.
We're not giving up. And I hope to see those changes that need to happen.
Thank you. Steve Eklund from Salinas. I'm going to say a couple of things that Supervisor Parker has heard a few times probably. And I wonder if you can look at Fort Ord as a possible place to help the homeless. There's lots of infrastructure already here, probably have to be fixed, but if the folks, if nothing else, have a place to park their cars, have access to bathroom and kitchen facilities, and people who don't have cars give them the MSD bus pass so they can get around. And I've also mentioned a few times to you folks, I meant that when I lived at Fort Ord, I hated the place, and every chance I had, I just got out of here. I never realized how beautiful it is. And the other part, so if you could have some more tours, bus tours, so people realize how beautiful this place is once you get away from the barracks and stuff. It's just some beautiful places. So I hope you can at least think about that. And if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment is still open. Seeing none, I bring it back to the board for items from members. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right. Yeah.